All right, so we hope everybody had that joined on this past Saturday enjoyed the CDLP training. I know a lot of you all have been wanting to hear from Lamar for some time because he hadn't been on this call. So you guys got a chance to hear from the great Lamar Reynolds. So I hope you guys were able to gather some new information or refresh yourselves if you had the information before. So tonight we are going to be I'm going to be talking a little bit about us separating the duties that we have to do as a business owner when we're doing CDLP. And this would apply to anything, but I'm going to apply to CDLP here. But this would apply to whether you're doing regular group CDLP. It doesn't matter what area you're working, you can still apply it. But tonight we're going to talk about applying it to CDLP because it's the CDLP a call, of course, a Zoom. So some of you all should have, well, not some of you all, all of you all should have gotten an email with a download. And don't nobody put in that box that you didn't get it because you got it. You just not looking for it. So don't nobody put in there, I didn't receive the email because it went to everybody. I already checked. So if you're saying you don't see it, then check your spam or whatever. I'm gonna put the link as well in the chat so you guys will get it from there anyway. But it did go out in the email. So when the CDLP email went out for this call, right behind it, another email came probably about 30 seconds later, and the download was there. It's also on the Facebook page as well. So you can grab it there, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in the link once Sherranda starts to do her introduction. I will copy and paste that link in the chat, and you can click on it there. It's a 3 slide deck. It's just 3 different PDFs that are like in slide form for you to have, because that's what we're going to be going over today. And we're going to do a little bit, not really role playing, but talking about those different positions that you need to have in your business. And I'm calling it E.M.T, which is Entrepreneur Manager Technician. And I'll explain what that means and how you can utilize it to maybe compartmentalize your business a little bit better when it's time for you to organize and make your calls and, open up your groups and sell your plans and whatever you've got going on. So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today, as we build into this new year, or second quarter, I should say, second quarter coming up here shortly. So we're already running live on YouTube, Sherranda. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to you to go ahead and start with your introduction, and I'll get that put in the chat, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Sherranda Ivey, for those that may be new on the call. I've been with Legal Shield now. This is our 9th year with the company. We're 50K ring earners, Business Solutions Emerald Elite. For those that don't know, that's we're in the top 100 of producers on the business solution side. And we earned the Ladies of Justice Field Trainer of the Year. And we also have earned the Production Award for 1,000 personal memberships. So earned that a couple of years ago. So we're well on to 2,000. So and we focus mostly on the business solution side with CDLP. We do a lot of cross-selling, top small biz producers as well. And just love this space. Just can definitely bring value to the market. With Legal Shield having about 2 to 3% penetration in the market, the CDL probably has less than 1%. So we have a big opportunity here. So I'm just excited because you just don't have to deal with a lot of the other things when you focus on one industry. And so definitely has been phenomenal for us these past couple of years, choosing our major and our minor in the business. And so with that, we do a little recruiting. We're starting to recruit on the solution side, but we definitely focus our efforts along on the solution side. So I'm just glad to have you guys here. I do host the accountability call on Thursday night. Those individuals most like masterminding. So they're learning from each other. We're all they're gaining a little knowledge. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dunbar.
All right, fantastic. And Sharon, just let me know if John jumps on, and we'll get him as a co-host once that happens, if he's able to get on with us tonight. So again, guys, we're gonna be talking. We talking to you guys about sales, how to really go out here and make some money, understanding the sales process here. Because I mean, for most of us, we know what the plan does, right? Yes, everybody knows what the CDL plan does already. It doesn't do a whole lot, so it's not a whole lot of advanced product training you need on a CDLP membership, but you do need to understand the industry. You do need to understand business. You need to understand sales. And I hear this a lot, that Legal Shield doesn't train sales and they don't teach you how to run a business. And, Legal Shield's job is not to teach you how to run a business. As a business owner, it's your job to seek out that information on how to run a business. Legal Shield's job is to train you on how to sell their product and what their product does for your client base. So as it comes to a business owner, we need to understand certain things. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull a slide up. And again, you guys can follow this on y'all's own slide as well, however you guys want to do that. But we're gonna get some screen sharing going on here. And I am going to, let me see, make sure I'm looking at the right screen. Okay, so you guys should be looking at a slide that shows a young lady on the left, a guy looking at a whiteboard, and then a young lady on the right side of that. And you guys see it says entrepreneur, visionary, manager, and technician, which is what E.M.T stands for. And the reason why I put this together is because I want you all to understand that, you're doing a lot as a business owner, and you really are covering all these different areas. But if you don't compartmentalize that when you're going out to do sales, you won't understand exactly what task you should be doing at what time. We like to multitask a lot, and really it'll get us in trouble when we multitask, because sometimes we start mixing everything up and everything's going in every direction, and you really don't know how to bring it all together. So you've got to understand the individual parts before you juggle them together. Does that make sense? So multitasking, me personally, I don't like it, but I know it's a thing. So if you do it, right? But you definitely need to know before you multitask, because you imagine juggling some items, but not knowing what the items were before you start juggling them. You got to know if one of those items is a knife, right? You got to know if one of those items is a heavy item, right? You have to know what you're juggling so you can be prepared to catch it and throw it back in the air. And as business owners, a lot of times we don't understand the difference between us being an entrepreneur, us being the manager in our business, and us being the technician that's in the field. And those are three different things. That's why I call this the E.M.T strategy, so that you can understand those individual parts, so you'll know what you're doing and when you're doing them. So I'm gonna do a little role playing on these parts. And when I show the next chart, you're gonna see where it's showing me, Sherranda, and John in the pictures on that chart. And I did not get their permission before I put their faces on here, but I know that they're gonna be good with that. But I put them on the organizational chart so that you guys can see. And then at the end, you're gonna see the organizational chart is talking about you being in all those positions, because before you start to pan out certain things. So some of you all don't understand really that as you grow your Legal Shield business, you're gonna need help. So for those that are doing everything on your own, it's because your business hasn't gotten big enough yet. Right? People like Alan Roman, people like Rebecca Smith, people like Rob Vest, and several other associates in the business. And I'm talking about on the group side, not on the networking side. On the group side, have virtual assistants, have people that makes calls for them, have people who follow up on accounts for them. Because when you're running a business, you need to have an assistant to help you, because you cannot grow a business to hundreds of thousands of dollars and be doing everything yourself. Right? And if you are really going to kill yourself. And that is you being a technician in your business. And it's very difficult to be the technician and the entrepreneur at the exact same time. So you have to know what the technician does and understand that you need to do it, but eventually you need to be able to work on your business as the entrepreneur and the visionary. So the entrepreneur and the visionary is that person that is putting together all these ideas of what can be done. Now, the technician will know that everything that the entrepreneur comes up with is not going to necessarily work in the field, right? So as a Legal Shield associate, Some of you guys have probably seen Legal Shield put some things out and then pull it back because it don't work. That's a typical business thing. That's not Legal Shield making a mistake. That is them, the entrepreneur side of the company, coming up with an idea and then realizing when the field goes to apply it, that it doesn't work, because some things work in a boardroom and they don't work in the field. So you've got to know that as the entrepreneur, as the person running your business, you're going to have an idea. But if you don't go out in the field and try it, if you don't have somebody that's going to go in the field and try it on your behalf because you have people who work with you on certain things, then it's going to flop. So I've got different groups that I have people work 50% that I don't even touch, right? Because I just don't go out and do a whole bunch of group stuff anymore. So I may say, you know what, I want to try something with this group, and I'll call that person and say, hey, when you go out, can you do this? And they may call me and say, Dunbar, I tried that, it didn't work. So that's that person playing the technician role, right, in my business and working something in the field that I thought was a good idea from my home office. Does everybody understand that? Put yes in the chat if you understand that. So I want you to understand, as a business owner, you've got to know your role when you're working on the business. You've got to know your role when you're managing the business, and you've got to know your role when you're in the field doing the technician part. And I'm going to break those things down to you here, and I'm going to have Sherranda help me with some of this stuff. And I didn't prep Sherranda because I don't have to, because Sherranda has done all of these different things in her own business. So I know that she already knows how all of these things work, because not only does she have a Legal Shield business running, but she has another business running. And when you start a business, you play in all these roles. You're the owner, you're the manager, and you're the technician. You're getting new business, you're managing new business, and you're coming up with an idea on how to get new business. The same thing that you all are doing in your Legal Shield business every day if you're working it every day, right? Yes, yes. So I'm going to move to the next slide. And on this next slide, what you're going to see is a strategy chart. Now, again, you guys all have received this in the email, so you don't have to worry about jotting all this stuff down. It's already there, right? So I laid this out where I put myself as the entrepreneur and the visionary. I put Sherranda as the manager, and I put John Hofmann as the technician, right? And really, everybody's working all these positions themselves. You're probably about 10% entrepreneur in this deal. You're going to be about 20% manager on this deal, and the other 70% you're going to be technician. Because you've got to be out, you got to be making the phone calls, you got to be hitting the pavement to open up these groups. You guys follow that, right? Put a 2 in the chat if you guys understand what I'm saying. If you guys follow me so far, put a 2 in the chat. So E.M.T, entrepreneur, manager, technician. So the entrepreneur is the person that's thinking, man, I should really work the CDLP space. That's an area of Legal Shield, right? You said, I'm in Legal Shield. This is the area of Legal Shield I want to work. I want to work the CDLP space. So how do I work the CDLP? How do I work on my business? Okay, you get certified, right? You start getting on the Monday call. You start getting on Sherranda's Thursday call. You go download all the stuff out of LS Engage on CDLP stuff, everything that Legal Shield has back there, and you're working your deal. That's what you're doing. You start getting all this information together. What a manager side has to do what? The manager side has to do the prospecting, the researching, scheduling, enrollments, and things like that. And then the technician side has to do walk-ins and safety manager meetings and enrollments and all of that stuff, right? Those are the 3 different things that you're doing. And what I want you to all start doing is categorizing that on your calendar or in your own mind or on a sheet of paper for yourself, so that you know exactly what you're doing. When are you being an entrepreneur in your business? When are you being a manager? And when are you being a technician? Because you got to have all that stuff scheduled on your calendar. You got to know when you're brainstorming. So if you're going to schedule an hour to brainstorm, say, okay, at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? You may get up at 5:30. I don't know what time you all get up, but everybody gets up at different times. You may get up at 5:30 in the morning, and at 7 o'clock start working and say, okay, from 7 to 8 o'clock, I'm going to brainstorm on a couple of different ideas to grow my business. That is you being an entrepreneur, right? So then now you have to start applying the things that you said. So you say, okay, my idea here is in the next 90 days, I'm going to open up 3 new groups a month. That's 9 new groups in 90 days. That sounds really good coming from the visionary working on the business, while I'm visualizing this. But then the manager has to actually put this in play, right? The manager has to put this in play and say, okay, What do I need to do to open up these 9 groups? And the manager has to manage this idea that the entrepreneur has laid down. Now, again, this is you in all these positions. But you've got to know that you have these roles in your business, unless you have somebody else doing them, and most of us don't, right? We're doing all these things ourselves. Once we create this setup as a manager, then as a technician, we have to do what? Make the phone calls or hit the field to open up these different groups. So let's look at the manager, because we all understand the entrepreneur side, right? The visionary side, the idea of I want to do CDLP, the idea of I want to open up this many groups. I want to start going in with small business plans. That's the idea, right? So then you have to learn how to do that. So now let's go to Sherranda on the manager side. So Sherranda, as a person who runs 2 different businesses, on the manager side, when it comes to prospecting and researching and scheduling DMs and enrollments and all that kind of stuff, like what would you say that the people on here need to be doing as the manager in their business when it comes to prospecting, researching, scheduling appointments, and all of that kind of stuff?
Calendaring it, put it on the calendar. As when you're prospecting and I said when you're researching, I wouldn't do that during income producing activity. Like I wouldn't do that when during the daytime when you know business owners and prospects are available. I normally do that like on my downtime, like in the evenings or the weekends. Like I spent all day Saturday working. I was on a training, but I was doing research. I was doing, that admin stuff that maybe you, like me, I'm a paper and a digital person. So, just putting things in my, my digital planner. But I do a lot of that on the weekends and like in the evenings. So like I'll be in my office probably another couple of hours doing that admin managerial stuff like you're talking about. Because doing what we call income producing activity, IPA time, that's when you should be prospecting. So, so it's time management. You got to know when you're productive. You got to do those things at the right time of the day.
So let me ask you a question. If you're playing the manager right now, so like because you said something that's really important. I hope everybody wrote that down. The technician is doing the IPA.
Okay.
So during work hours, the technician, you should be being your technician. That should be on your calendar. You should be a technician during business hours. Guess what a manager does? Look at trainings. And the manager shouldn't be doing that during it. I don't care if Legal Shield is doing it during IPA time. They record it. So listen to the recording later on. Right? It doesn't matter when the person is hosting the training, because they're hosting it based on their schedule. You should be watching it based on your schedule. So as the manager, right, when you're saying prospecting and researching, so you said that. So what is your steps in that? So when you're saying I'm researching, what exactly are you doing for the people who still don't understand research?
Okay. So, so with me, my prospects are all commercial prospects, either trucking companies or drivers. If I'm not researching, and my research comes from, Safer, the web, I use truckdriver.com, but I use Safer. I don't really use truckdriver.com. Use Safer. And so my research also comes from my existing clients because I build my business off referrals. So like this time of the month, I'm tapping into the people maybe I wrote last month, making sure they're good. And then, working through them for referrals. Who do you know? So I have a lot of members on the books. And so I tap into that on the first of the month, touching those that I haven't touched in a while. But the main goal is to say, who do you know? I'm always looking for, prospects within my database that I already have. Now I do cold call, but I do that. I try to do 25 a day, at least 4 days a week. But anyway, it's normally about 3 days a week. I do about 25 cold calls. I have to get that in because that's how my funnel stays full. So, so what else you asked, Dunbar?
No, so no, you answered it. So that's what you're doing. That's prospecting, and I'm breaking it down this way for them. So I'm hopefully you all are writing down like, okay, as an entrepreneur, this is what I should be doing. As a manager, this is what I should be doing. And I hope it was clear to you all that the manager stuff that Sherranda is talking about right now, you shouldn't be doing that from like 8 or 9 in the morning to like 5, 4, maybe 4 or 5 in the evening. That shouldn't be taking place. Research is something that you do after hours. Research is something that you do on the weekend. That's not something that you do at 11 o'clock in the afternoon or morning, I should say. You should be a technician at that time. You should not be game planning, right? You should not be game planning as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur working on your business, you should not be working on your business at 10 o'clock in the morning. At 10 o'clock in the morning, you should be strictly be a technician. How do you manage that, right? So I think I saw something go through in the chat. Let me make sure I read that right because I don't want to answer it wrong. Let me see what that said. Chat, what did it say? How is the scheduling done from the manager category on the slide? So how is the scheduling done? Scheduling would be really however you calendar. So for instance, let's look at manager. Prospecting, researching, scheduling, DMs and enrollments, right? So prospecting, I will put that on my calendar for any time after maybe 5 o'clock. That means that you're going to time block. So you're going to go to your calendar and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to prospect, right, from this time to that time, right? And prospecting could be you setting up emails to go out to these companies or you going on social media to some CDLP group on social media and communicating with people. It could be you pulling companies off of the truckdriver.com or going right to Safer and pulling companies. However you prospect, right? You would schedule that time. Whatever time fits into your calendar. Now, it might only be an hour. It could be 2 hours. Whatever it is, you time block that. Really important to time block your items, guys. You want to put everything on your calendar, even breaks. So if you're saying I prospect 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever it may be, if you're going to prospect from 5 to 7, it should be on your calendar to prospect and what site you're going to go to do that. And then you should strictly be doing only that at that time. You shouldn't be doing anything else, right? So when I say that I'm not really a fan of multitasking, you work so much more efficiently when you concentrate on what you're doing. If you time block for 2 hours to prospect, you shouldn't be doing anything else but prospecting. You shouldn't be listening to a training in the background. You shouldn't be babysitting at the same time. You should be locked into a space where you're doing just that, just prospecting so that you can get it done efficiently and not make mistakes and do the best job you can at doing that. Then when it comes to you researching, the same thing. Put time block. It could be the same day. It could be another day, right, that you do research. So whatever companies you're prospecting, you want to go and research. So it's time block. Maybe, again, 1 hour, 2 hours, however long you're going to be doing it. It's based on whatever else you have to do. You're going to time block, and then you're going to research those companies that you're going to prospect before you make an attempt to call them or do a 3-way call with anybody, because you want to know the things about that company that you're going to talk about, not prospect companies and then research them right before you prospect them, because they might not be a prospect. So you want to make sure that you're researching that company first. Now, if you're willing to go after any company, then that's on you. We always suggest that you keep it to about 30 trucks or less, unless you're very experienced in doing it, or unless you've done group and other aspects outside of Legal Shield and you know how to work with big accounts. If not, stay under 30 vehicles. So you want to make sure that company has less than 30 vehicles. So how do you do that? By doing your research, pulling up the company, looking at their safety score, looking at how many drivers they have, how many power units they have, and all that stuff. If you don't know how to do that, then we already have a video that you can follow that tells you how to do that. So there's a prospecting video, and at some point I'll throw it in the chat, or if Sharon, if you can pull that video and throw the link in the chat so that people know how to do that. It's about a 2.5 hour video on prospecting. We'll be doing another one this year. We do one every year, our annual training for that. So that is how you would schedule those different things. And of course, when it comes to your enrollments and setting up all of those things are going to come with time. So as you prospect the company, once you prospect that company and they say, hey, we'll do a DM with you, whether it's in person or through Zoom, then you're going to have that on your calendar to do that. And a DM, those type of things, your DM and all that stuff is going to be during business hours. Obviously, you're going to be doing the decision maker appointment, whether Zoom or in person during business hours. So you're going to pretty much take care of that. Now, it says scheduling on the chart. You see where it says for manager, you're scheduling that. When it comes to doing the actual DM, whether it be Zoom or in person, that is you doing that as a technician so that you understand that. So when you're doing that, you're acting as a technician. So you may need to label your items that way so that you're a little bit clearer on doing them. So you can say, okay, these are the tasks I need to do as a manager in my business. These are the tasks that I need to do as a technician in my business. And these are the tasks that I need to do as an entrepreneur in my business. And make sure that the entrepreneur and manager things that you're doing them when it's not IPA time. You should be, for the most part, 90% of what you're doing during business hours is going to be as a technician, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Is this all like coming together, or am I like on another planet for some of y'all? Like just put yes or no in a chat. And compartmentalizing really does help because it helps you itemize what you're doing, because some of us are just getting up and we doing business and we just trying to make it all come together. There's no plan really. There's no calendar set up. Most of us aren't blocking the time to do these things in a specific way. We're just saying, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna make calls, right? And then you make some calls, but there's really no start time, no stop time. You just call until you get tired or until you hear no enough that it bothers you, when really you should be really itemizing and compartmentalizing all this stuff and labeling it, because then it's easier for you to replace yourself. So what does that mean by replace yourself? Because once your business is running, you know what these different tasks are that you're doing. Now, as your business starts to grow, you can replace yourself, right? You can hire a virtual assistant to do management stuff, right? Or you can say, well, I've got groups that I don't want to go out and service because I'm busy doing other things, right? Building the business, working on the business. And you may start doing 50% commission splits with people to go work your groups. Like I do that with some of my groups. I have somebody else working them, even though I can get to them, I'm doing other things. So I don't really have the time to go out and do it. When I first started doing heavy group, I was being somebody else's technician. Does that make sense? I was being somebody else's technician. So for those that kind of know how my business works, they're like about 6 or 7 years ago, I ran into another group associate, a young lady by the name of Rebecca Smith, who was the $250,000 ring earner in Legal Shield. She sold over 30,000 memberships. She lives where I live in Jacksonville. She contacted me and said, hey, look, I know you're doing group, and I've been in this business for over 20 years. And at this point, I really don't want to go out anymore. So if I sit down and talk to you about my groups, can you go work my groups and you go do all the heavy lifting and I do all the stuff? So at that point, this was the setup. She was the entrepreneur in her business and she was the manager, and she made me the technician. And what she did is she put me on 50% of all her groups. And then I went and worked them all. I paid for my own hotel everywhere I went. I paid for my own travel expenses, my own food and everything. And as I did the groups, she prepared everything. So what she would do is she would say, I would come to her office and she would say, Monday, you got this group, Wednesday, this group, next week, Tuesday, this group. She would have the whole month laid out. And what I would do is I would go sit in her office. She would make all the folders and everything. And I would come by and pick everything up. I would go work that group. When I came back, I would bring her the applications. I would give her the box that she gave me with all the information. And then she would reset folders for the next group. And then I would take that box to the next group. And then I would come back again. So I was being the technician in her business. And then I was being the entrepreneur and the manager in my own business. You guys follow that? So she would split everything with me. And that was helping my business run and giving me experience in group. Because she really understood that she didn't want to be the technician in her business anymore. She just wanted to be the entrepreneur and the manager in her business. Because she had gotten her business to a point to where she didn't want to go out and service all the groups. She just wanted to, at that point, really work it from the other side. So I hope that makes sense. So Sherranda, anything you want to add to what we're talking about?
No, but that's good though. I just
Good.
put the link in there for the 3rd annual.
Oh, good. Great. So the other aspect is the technician aspect. And at the technician aspect, which is what you're doing in your IPA time, is where you're doing your walk-ins, you're working your safety meetings, right? You're making calls, you're doing enrollments, you're doing customer service. That's all technician stuff. And again, we're all technicians in our own business. This is what we're doing during IPA time. So you need to label these things in your business because again, how do you replace yourself as a business owner? How do you replace yourself in all of these positions unless you have an organizational chart showing the positions that need to be filled? In the beginning, you're filling them all. But then at some point, you have to replace yourself so you can just be the entrepreneur working on the growth of your business. And it might take you 2 years, it might take you 5 years, it might take you 10 years. I don't know how long it's going to take you. It depends on whether you got another full-time job that you've got going at the same time. It depends on how you're set up, right? But at some point, you have to replace yourself. But how do you replace yourself if you don't have the position label? How do I contact Sherranda Ivey, who has a virtual assistant business, and say, hey, as a virtual assistant, do you make calls and set appointments? And she says, yeah, I do. Okay, so how do I now turn that over to her as a virtual assistant and pay her to do it if I don't have that position set up in my business in the first place? So you can't turn over a task that you don't have labeled. You guys follow that? So I want you guys to understand, this is all you organizing your business. And Legal Shield is not going to do this for you. You have to do this for yourself. And if not, all you're going to do is you're going to be employing yourself. Because all most of us are doing right now is we're working for ourselves and we're working harder for ourselves than we are for our job. And if you want a reality check on that, I want you to look at last month. It's March now. Look at February. Guesstimate how many hours in Legal Shield you worked. And I mean looking at training and everything, because that's working. If you're on a training for 2 hours for Legal Shield, that's working. Because if you was at your job and you was training for 2 hours, they will pay you. So when you're looking at a training for 2 hours, you're working. I want you to just estimate how many hours you worked last month doing Legal Shield, and then look at how much you made last month doing Legal Shield. And then I want you to look at what you made per hour. Look at how much you made per hour. Most of you are making less than minimum wage. You're paying yourself less than minimum wage to do Legal Shield because you're not really running a business. You're just employing yourself, right? You're employing yourself and you're basically doing slave labor for yourself to be a part of something. That's what you're doing. Once you organize this as a business and you say, okay, I'm the entrepreneur, I'm the manager, I'm the technician, and I'm gonna fill all 3 of these spots until I'm making enough money to put somebody in these spots, pay them to do these specific things, and be able to work the business. You should be able to open up enough groups that you can have somebody at least doing a 50% commission split. And remember, guys, you don't have to pay a person that way. So when I'm saying pay somebody, I'm saying pay somebody by doing a split. If Sherranda says, Dunbar, I got 4 groups in Florida that I don't want to go to because they're too far, can you work them? And I go work those groups for Sherranda. Sherranda doesn't actually have to pay me a commission. I'm doing a split. So everything I sell is basically paying me half. So I'm not telling you to create a payroll. I'm telling you that you should have enough business going on that you can actually put people in your accounts and you can make decent money making half of those accounts. But you got to be running your business in order for that to happen. You've got to schedule yourself to do the IPA things, the technician things. You've got to manage your business when you're not in working hours, so that you have the groups opened up to help put people in. And even if those people are on your team, which is even better. So if you're recruiting, then you train your own team to do it. Now you're getting 2 bites of the apple. You're doing a 50% commission split with somebody that's on your team, so you're still getting all the organizational premium, and you're getting an override, and they're being compensated. You guys follow that? So for some of y'all might be thinking this a little bit advanced. I just started Legal Shield, whatever the case. Look, guys, we got plenty of videos with beginner stuff. So I understand. But at some point, guys, if you don't understand that this is really a business, not a side hustle and not a, oh, I'm just doing, no, you're running a business and you're employing yourself at slave labor wages. If you're making $1,000 a month and you're doing Legal Shield 5 hours a day, guys, come on. You wouldn't allow anybody to pay you that much money, so why are you paying yourself like that? It doesn't make a lot of sense. The opportunity is there. Somebody making $100,000 a year in Legal Shield can share their business. Does that make sense? Somebody making $50,000 a year really could share their business. So it's really about you understanding these different positions and understanding that you're playing them all until you fill them, even if it's just on a commission split. So the last slide I'm gonna show you all is basically me saying that you really filling all those positions yourself right now, right? So you see that? You are in every single one of those positions, right? Y'all saying, no, y'all don't see it. Y'all don't see it because I ain't sharing my screen.
It's not there yet, Robert. And John
I got a habit of doing that. I'm saying, do you see what I'm talking about? And y'all don't see nothing that I'm talking about. So now you guys see it up on the screen on this chart. It's you. You're in all those positions, guys. You're doing all those things until you replace yourself. And you need to have that on your board above your office, like every other business owner does, because when a business owner starts a business, they're doing everything. And then they start to replace themselves a little bit at a time, so that they can really own the business and really have the time freedom they want. You guys got involved, most of you, I'm not gonna say every one of you, but most of you all got involved in a business like this, like Legal Shield, for time freedom. Now, if you did, put a 3 in the chat. If you called yourself getting involved in a company like this so that you would have some more free time, then this should be making sense to you. In order for you to have free time as a business owner, you got to actually be the entrepreneur. You can't be the technician and the manager in your business and have free time, because you can't be doing all these things and have free time. So if you're taking off of your business to spend time with your family, your income should be staying the same. It shouldn't change. You shouldn't say, well, I'm not going to go work this group today because I'm going to play with my grandbabies or my kids, and then don't make the money on the group. You should be able to say, I've got 2 groups coming up this week, but I don't want to work those. I'm actually going to be spending some time with my family. I'm going to have somebody on my team or somebody else in this business that understands this group, work that group, and I'm going to make half of that deal while I'm spending time with my family. You guys follow that? Yes or yes? You guys are running the business. And until you see that visually in your face on your own chart, you're just going to keep working for yourself. And I'm telling you, you're paying yourself less than the company that you work for is paying you. Or if you left your job at some point, you just do Legal Shield for a time, whatever job you had before, they was probably paying you more than what you make in a Legal Shield, right? And I'm not going to ask you to put that in the chat, but you guys know your own circumstance. Most of the people on this line were make more money on your job than you do with your business. And that's not the way that's supposed to work. You're supposed to be making more money in your business than you make in your job, because the whole idea is to replace your job unless you really love it that much and you want to keep it. I know some of y'all want to keep your job because you love what you do, and that's totally fine. I'm not against jobs. I think if you love what you do, do it. If you got a degree to do something, you went to school, you're paying student loans, make your money doing that thing. But if you're going to have a business like this on the side, it needs to really run as a business, not be a side hustle that you're doing every now and then. And most of your time is going towards you looking at trainings and learning how to do something that you're not even doing. Because all you're doing is soaking up your time and taking time away from your family and all those other things. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sherranda, see if she has anything to add. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, Sherranda, so it's not up on the screen. You got anything you want to add to that?
No. John Hoffman's on, though.
John Hoffman, what's up?
Hey, Robert. I'm glad I made it in. Paid for $5 a gallon for gas the first time today in my life.
Good stuff. Well, now since you on, I'm gonna ask you a question, because if you notice I had you on that organizational chart. You may have missed it, but I got a picture of you in the organizational chart. and I have you in there as a technician, and I put you in there as a technician because you're constantly on here talking about being at an enrollment, sitting inside, you're putting stuff on the Facebook group where you're sitting outside with your setup and everything. That's technician stuff. That is the IPA things that we have to do within our own business. So Sherranda talked a little bit on the manager side on setting appointments, prospecting companies, researching companies. So what I'm gonna ask you to talk about is for the people on the line who don't really know what the IPA stuff is, don't really know about calling these companies or walking into these companies or doing enrollment and doing customer service. Talk to the audience about what is that? What does that entail and why it's important to do it?
Well, setting up a group is the most important thing. Set it up right so that you get the ability to walk in there almost any time, especially if they're evergreen groups. You're going to get to a point in your business eventually, like Robert talked about, that you're going to be too much for you. So usually once or twice a year, I go through my groups and I look for other associates to help me service these groups so I don't have to do it all myself. I'll be involved in the training of them and the initial setup of the group to make sure it's set up properly and that you have a good relationship with the group. But then eventually, if you want to move on to get bigger yourself, you need to have someone help you with that. Like Robert helps me with a group in Georgia and one in Jacksonville, and Lamar helps me with one in Houston and in the South Central. But I'm always looking for other associates that I can just plug in to my groups that are already established, so all the work is done. All they have to do is really go in and service them. So that's the fun of when you get to that size in your business, when you get to do that. You can plug in different people to your organization that you think will help you. And sometimes you might want to find someone, like, for instance, I got a couple of groups that are not CDLP related, but it's a female human resources manager. So I went out and sought another female Legal Shield associate that could do it virtually for me, where I'm more of an in-person guy, to try and key in different elements of making a group presentation to a company, whether it's in person or virtually. So you got all of your bases covered to try and get the best possible results out of it. When you see me post on my Facebook page is when I put on my canopy. I'm usually on field training with those individuals and trying to get them an idea of what is actually involved in actually servicing a group properly, to get all the tools you need for that, like your CDLP temporary membership kits. You have to have those available, and of course your folders for your family plans, and that's all just part of making your business grow. And you get to a point where you have so many groups that you actually have to sit back and look at them and go, wow, I need to find somebody to help me with that. And maybe it might be an associate that's brand new, that eagerly wants to get involved in it, especially in CDLP, and I'll get them involved in a group that's in their area where they live. So I don't have to drive 120 miles to pay $5 a gallon of gas. They can only go from their home that's 20 miles away from this group, and I can just let them go in and take care of it. All right, Robert, I think that's what you want me to talk about.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you a question, because this is, first of all, are you a 50K ringer or 100K ringer?
No, I'm approaching it though. Last year I got the most I ever had. Every year's been more income, but this year it's exploding again. It hasn't really stopped. It's going good this year so far, but not 50K yet. Hopefully I'll reach Sherranda's level pretty soon. I'm always chasing Sherranda.
And I asked you that question for this reason. So here's the layout, guys. Here's the layout again. John is being the entrepreneur in his business by getting up in the morning and game planning and saying, as a business owner, these are the things I need to do to grow my business. He said his business is exploding and is growing every year. See, that's the entrepreneurial side. He's gauging that and he's growing his business. That is John working on his business, right? The manager side says, let me open up these groups because the entrepreneurial side is growing the business. Why is it growing? Because I'm opening groups and I'm selling more memberships. So as a manager, he's scheduling appointments, he's going out, he's opening groups. Now, John just said he hasn't made 50K in 1 year yet with Legal Shield, but guess what else he's doing? He's the technician, but he's got technicians. So you don't have to be a 50K ring owner or 100K ring owner to start having technicians work for you. Lamar is one of John's technicians in Houston. I'm one of John's technicians in Georgia and Florida. You guys follow that? So he's opened up a group that it doesn't make sense for him to go to. So what he's saying is, I'm not going to go from California to Florida to service this account. I'm not going to go from California to Houston or California to Florida, right? Florida, Georgia, and Texas, that makes sense. So what he's done is said, what I know is, as a technician, the enrollment needs to be done. I can't get there and do it. It doesn't make sense for me to do it. So I'm going to have another technician go in and do it. And I'm going to do a 50% commission split with him. That is John basically paying me to do an enrollment for him through the system. Does that make sense to everybody? So you don't have to be a 100K ringer or 50K ringer or any of that to say, as the technician in my own business, I'm going to have other technicians doing things. That is John being an entrepreneur and saying, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm game planning, working on my business. And then as a manager, I'm setting up groups and establishing a group setup for me to go in and doing enrollments. And then as a technician, I'm going and doing the enrollment. And when the enrollment is not viable for me to do that, or good use of my time or energy, I'm going to put a technician on my staff and have them do the technician while I'm being a technician somewhere else in my own business. That is what a business owner does. And at some point, John will be able to sit in his office for the majority of the day and have his groups running, and he'll have people in his groups working his groups, and he'll be taking half and not having to leave the house at some point unless he wants to. He may have customers where he wants to go out because he really likes that group, right? You may do that. Just like you've got accountants that run an accountant business and they've got some big clients that they like to work themselves, but there are other clients, they have accountants doing the accounting for them, and they make most of the money on that deal. It's called being an entrepreneur. So I wanted to break that down here today with those slides so that you guys will understand, like, stop looking at network marketing like this side hustle. I know we say that, and I understand the language. But if you guys don't take this as a business, it's not going to work as a business. If you do not run this as a business, it's not going to work as a business. If you call this a side hustle, you're going to make side hustle money. And I don't know how many bills you pay for side hustle money. This is a true running business. You're not going to tell me that this is a side hustle for Mike Humes and he making $100,000 a year. You're not going to tell me this is a side hustle for Rob Best or Darnell Self or Brian Carruthers or any of these other big name people in this company, especially on the group side, who's making $100, $150, $200,000 a year. That's not a side hustle. And a whole bunch of people making $200,000 a year on the side, right? That's not a side hustle. So just understand that this is a real business running, but you've got to look at it. You got to visualize it that way. You've got to know the parts that you're playing, the positions, I should say, that you're playing in your business and how to play them so that they work out correctly, right? If that makes any sense. So what I'm going to do now is first I'm going to see if our trainers have anything else to add. If not, we'll answer a couple of questions if anybody has any. And if not, then I'll give you guys a couple of closing out tips there. So Sherranda and John, you guys have anything y'all want to mention?
Nope, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Both y'all good? Any questions in the chat or questions that somebody may have? Let me see. I'm on the YouTube channel, so let me check together.
It was Lashana McWorth. What do you say to a single owner operator that has one truck, one driver? I have a ton of them to call.
Oh, Sherranda, you can answer that question. Sherranda can answer that.
Well, I asked her what she knew, so we could talk. But so if he's an owner operator, he's a business owner. Even though he has one truck and one driver, if he's truly an owner operator, he's a business owner. So how I approach that as a business owner. So I just asked a series of questions. And so I guess you say what the questions are. So my thing to you, Lashana, is definitely get familiar with our plans. And when you get familiar with our plans, then you can ask the questions that will go when you know the plan, and if you got a lot of these people to talk to, then obviously you're in that space some type of way. So you might know the language a little bit. But with those owner operators, I ask a lot of questions. I lead with small business, but because I feel like if I sell the owner, and this guy's a one-man show, so it's a no-brainer. But normally I lead with small business because I want the owner to see the value of what we offer. And then therefore I cross-sell with small biz to the CDLP and the legal plan. So, so what you say to these people is, my thing is, the research comes in. So even though you may know them, you need to research their company. And if you don't know how to research their company, we drop the link in there for the 3rd annual, and it'll show you how to research the company. And so when you research the company, it'll tell you a lot about the company so you can ask the right questions. So, and I mean, I could say a lot of things, but my deal is I research the company. So I'm not a general person. I normally know what is going on in the company, especially if I know them, So I would advise you, especially if you're new, to connect with a field trainer so we can help you maneuver through your list so you can maximize your profits versus going to them talking about our CDL plan. And because honestly, a lot of these drivers don't know about a plan like we have. So if you step to them wrong, you'll shoot yourself in the foot first because they won't see the value, because they may not have ever heard of anything like this. So, so that conversation could go a lot of different ways. I know I'm not really answering the question because it could go a lot of different ways. And I would prefer to know some more about the company versus you going to be general. But you can have conversations with them. I guess one question would be, a great question would be, do they have something in place to fight violations? Because most of them are dealing with inspections and violations, but I'm not general like that, so I'm not going to mess you up like that. So, Dunbar, I know I didn't really answer a question though.
Well, you answered it. I mean, you did answer it, because at the end of the day, it's like that. If that person is new, they don't know that part yet, so you help them with that. Like, we can't really tell you what to say to a company unless we know something about the company, because we talk about the company to them. We talk about their company. So that's why we do research first. So the fact that she asked that question is really that brings up that very point, which is you should not be prospecting companies that you haven't researched first, because research is what allows you to say specific things. So we do have icebreakers, like the upload that Sherranda put on the Facebook page with the brake checks coming up, or the road checks coming up. We do have several other what do we call them, lead magnets or availability pieces that you can use to break the ice when you're talking to companies. But essentially, you want to know the company, right?
Or at least have the right conversation with them, because like I said, a lot of them just don't know that these programs exist. And it could be a new driver as an owner op, meaning a new guy who just recently got his truck, and he may not have problems. He may not have violations yet. So that's a different story. That's a different conversation. He's dealing with things, but he may not be dealing with violations. What we teach here is about violations. That's what our CDLP plan protects. It helps with is the violations against the CDL, the license. But, if these owner ops, they could be new people. They could be, they could just start their company and they don't have any problems when it comes to violations. So they definitely won't see a value like right away, unless they maybe have been with another company and heard a legal shield or some type of product like that. So, LaShawna, that's a, definitely can help you, but we just need to have a different conversation so you can understand. Because if you have a big network, you have a great opportunity. And so I would hate for you to step into your network and mess it up. Because it could do well if you step to it the right way. That's my take on it.
No, that's good. That's good. And though and something else too, LaShonda, so that you know, like Sherranda, and you will hear Sherranda talk about on different trainings. So if you look at the YouTube channel or the replays, you'll see it. When Sherranda's going after a single owner operator, she normally goes after them with a small business plan first, because that's her approach. But you need to understand the small business plan before you do that. So you can't go after them with that plan, because again, guys, this is not about making the sale to make money or get performance club points or counters or premium dollars. It's about making the sale because that business owner needs that. And we know as a single owner operator and it's in the commercial driving space, the transportation space, they need that small business plan, but you need to know what parts of it they need so that you can understand, because they're not gonna deal with all the DOT and FMCSA stuff for them. They're not gonna deal with any of that. So don't put that together in your mind and say, hey, this is a CDLP company, we sell them a small business plan, we can help them with, no, that's not what they're gonna do. So I would definitely highly suggest to work with, and what I'm in the process of doing now is going through some of the trainings, well, not all of them, but some of the episodes, and I'm changing the thumbnail on YouTube from the CDLP thumbnail to what it's about. So people can now see what it's about and look at instead of just going from episode to episode, not knowing really what you're gonna get. So I'm kind of going through them and doing that so that you guys have a better idea of what they are, instead of just having the general CDLP thumbnail there and it all looks the same except for the number of the episode. So I am doing that, and that's why I've been using these different thumbnails now, and that's going out on the Facebook page and all that stuff, so that you guys have a better idea of what we're talking about, so you'll know what training to go to get the information you need to get better in the CDLP space. Because we'll always say to you, I would say most of the time, selling the CDLP plan or opening up a group in the CDLP space has more to do with understanding the industry and that company that you're prospecting than it is to understand our CDL plan. And I know that sounds weird or odd to people. They're thinking like, well, I'm in Legal Shield, I should know our plan. Yes, you should know the plan, but most of your closings aren't going to come because you understand our plan. It's going to be because you understand the CDL space and you understand the company that you're prospecting. Knowledge of your prospect is going to do more closing than knowledge of the product that you're marketing. Once you know the product, you know it. You have to know every company. That's going to be a learning process for every company because every company is different. The industry is going to generally stay the same, but you need to be current with it. The trucking company is going to change, but the product stays the same. It hasn't changed in years. So that's what you should be marketing. And I would tell you, the super plan, I wouldn't even bother with it. I know some of you guys are you're asking questions about the super plan. Concentrate on the basic CDLP and the family plan. Now you're giving them the most protection for the best value. You're covering the kids, you're covering the spouse, you're covering things that aren't CDL, things that are CDL. You're giving them lawsuit protection on the CDL side, lawsuit protection on the family side. You're giving them a much better package with the CDLP basic. And now you don't have to worry about whether it sells in this state or doesn't sell in this state and all that. That's just too much to have to worry about. Just concentrate on the basic and the family because you can sell that everywhere, unless it's a licensed state and you're not licensed there. Other than that, that's where I would pretty much stay. Anything else, Sherranda and John?
I would say if you can squeeze in the expanded hours coverage too on that for the family plan, because all those expanded hours are pre-trial hours that adds the benefit to them. So it gives them almost the strength of one of our full-fledged business plans with a trial defense supplement. But yeah, I mean, when I go out to see a truck driver, virtually it's a little hard to do, but when you see them in person, you try and pre-qualify them about how the truck looks. If they're buying Chinese tires or they got name brand tires on their truck, they got cheap tires in the truck, they need our service because they can't afford an $800 ticket. If they got Michelin, $600 tires on their truck, on a big rig with times 18 wheels and tires, you know that they can afford our service. So on all aspects, those are your talking points when you talk to them. See if the truck looks run down and they're buying recaps and used tires and cheap tires. That's my business, so I get to look at those really quickly. I can tell right away, but then I can tell they can't afford an $800 ticket. Because I saw one company today, that's what the driver had. He had an $800 ticket that he got for speeding. And if he can afford that, he can afford our membership. And then if you have companies that really take care of their trucks, and they buy the best tires and they keep the trucks clean and the windshields without cracks in them, then that they take great pride in our membership. Also, they can use our membership too because they take pride in their fleet.
I mean, you can't always research, right away. You can have conversations, but if you don't really know the space, you don't know the questions to ask, it's kind of hard to have those conversations. So that's why, I say that about the plan, because the plan can help you, dictate that conversation so you can come back and show the value of what we offer. So.
It looks like Joetta Bailey's hand is up. Is that on purpose, Joetta? You got a question?
No, that's by accident. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
My thing is going on and okay.
Okay, I got you. So guys, I saw Rosalie put in the chat that you haven't created the courage or gotten the courage to make a call, but you've been doing research. At some point, you're gonna have to cross that line and make the call. I mean, it's like stage fright, it's like anything else. One of the tips that I give people when it comes to calling is make some other calls. They don't even have to have anything to do with business. So something that I do with my coaching clients when they're scared to make calls is get up and call, just make phone calls. They don't have to even be about that particular thing. Something about picking up the phone and making phone calls, it allows you to keep making phone calls. So call a friend of yours, call a business partner, call a workout partner, call a family member. It doesn't matter. Call 2 or 3 people. And once you call 2 or 3 people, then go to your list and go to make a call off your list. It's easier to call once you've made a couple of calls because your brain really doesn't realize that you're not calling a prospect or whether you're calling a prospect. Your brain is just a phone call. You're scared to make a call. Once you make a couple of calls, you got to trick your brain. Your brain doesn't realize that the next call you're making is about a prospect that you would have normally been scared to call. It's just calling now. So try that and see if it works. That has worked for some of my clients. I know years ago when I had gotten into sales, I would do that. I would get up in the morning and call 2 or 3 people and then start making my calls. It kind of get you in that mode to make calls. So hopefully that'll help you. So guys, it is 9:39. We're going to go ahead and get closed out here. We appreciate you guys being with us as well. Again, for another week, joining us, hanging out with us here. Remember, this Thursday coming up, Sherranda Ivey's accountability call. So if you don't know how to get on that, just go to the Facebook page and ask. Somebody will let you know how to do it. The link is there, but it's easier sometimes to just ask and somebody will normally tag you in it. Go there and get that information so you can do that. Make sure you're on a blitz tomorrow. We've got a blitz every Tuesday from, I think it's Eastern time. It's 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I don't know what, so whatever time zone you're in, make sure you get on the blitz and use that as a call time. So Rosalie, that's another way, another tip for you too, Rosalie, is to get on the blitz because it's a lot more encouraging when you're on the blitz and everybody's making calls. It'll encourage you to make calls as well. So that's helped a lot of people too, because you've got that camaraderie of doing it because everybody's doing it. You see people making calls and putting posts and stuff. So try it that way as well. That might be another good way for you to do it. So guys, we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. This will go out in the email tomorrow, but it's on the YouTube channel now because it's live. So you can go there and look at it. Again, if you want to play it back, and then it'll be on the Facebook page tomorrow as well once it's edited. So you guys have a fantastic evening. Love you guys all, and we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
Robert.